Good morning and welcome to Business Morning. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago. Well, it's the decision day for the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank, which started its two-day meeting on Tuesday. This is the first meeting of the committee for the year after a long wait for the approval of the newly appointed members by the National Assembly. Now, the Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele will be announcing the committee's decision by 2 p.m. and we will be joining the briefing live at that time. And we will also have our panel of discussants who will be right here in the studio to throw more light into what should be expected. And that will start by 1:30 this afternoon. In the meantime, let's look at the financial markets ahead of this decision. I'm being joined by an investment analyst at AfriInvest Securities, Omotola Abimbola. Good morning, Omotola.
Good morning.
Well, it seems everybody is waiting for this day. Well, being the first in the year, what are your expectations on the outcome of the meeting?
Well, for the MPC meeting that will be concluding today, we at AfriInvest, we are expecting the committee to maintain status quo on all policy rates. Albeit, we expect them to strongly communicate their desire to begin a policy easing cycle in the near term. And this expectation is anchored by the fact that the CBN has recorded tremendous progress in terms of its dual objective of price and exchange rate stability in the past 2 years. Looking at price stability, you would notice that in the past 1.5 years now, we have been seeing consistent deceleration in inflation starting from January 2017, and we are now down to about 14%, 14.3% from 18.7% that started in January 2017. Also, on exchange rate stability, we have been recording very stable exchange rates. The HNE FX window rate has been stable at 36 naira to the dollar. Also, we are seeing very strong liquidity in the high and hill window. The external reserves, have gone up. Also, regarding the external accounts, current account surplus has been very strong. Trade balance has been in surplus as well. So in all ramifications, talking about external balance, speaking of FX market stability, speaking of consumer prices, we have seen very strong traction in all this. But despite all these factors I mentioned, you would notice that we are yet to record very substantial level of growth in the economy. Non-oil growth has been very weak, although we are seeing very strong numbers for the purchasing managers indices, both for the manufacturing and non-manufacturing indexes. But despite that, you will notice that non-oil sector growth has been very low. And even studying monetary aggregates, credit to the private sector has been very slow. Monetary aggregate data for February 2018 showed that we have recorded a mild 1.5% growth in private sector loans in the economy, where broad money supply has grown by just 0.2% in the 2 months. So there is a very strong argument for there to be policy easing in order to support non-oil sector growth, support lending to the private sector, and buoy money supply growth in the economy.
Yeah, so, but why would you now think that they should remain status quo? I mean, you at AfriInvest.
Correct. That's a very good question. And our reasons are that we think maintaining status quo is the more pragmatic option on 2 accounts. Number one, the CBN governor has been communicating in the past 1 year that the major anchor for monetary policy in the near term is consumer prices. And right now, if you're looking at CPI growth year on year, headline inflation is still above the monetary policy rates. Although you would notice that, typically for monetary policy, inflation expectation matters much more than current inflation, and the CBN has succeeded in anchoring inflation expectation lower, such that by consensus, the market is expecting probably a single-digit inflation number before the end of the year. But despite this, we also know that this is the first MPC meeting of the year, where committee members typically like to maintain stability. And indeed, we'll be having 5 new committee members who will be joining the meeting for the first time. So we don't think they'll be looking to shake the table anytime soon. However, we think that a policy rate cut is a matter of when, not if. It's going to happen this year, but maybe not at this current MPC meeting.
All right. Now, the fixed income market seem to have been bullish since the start of the year. Would you now expect that to continue? Would you expect that to continue if the CBN perhaps decides to remain status quo?
We think it would continue. If you look at the fixed income market, compared to averages in the bond markets of 16.5% in January 2017, we have seen a consistent decline in fixed income yields, particularly in the bond market, and also the T-bills markets. Currently, averages in the bond market is around 13.5%, nearly 350 basis points drop from where it was in 2017 January. Also, in the Treasury bills market, we have seen a strong decline in T-bills yield and also HOMO clearing rates, although this is being driven by different factors other than monetary policy alone. There's the aspect of fiscal policy. Earlier last year, the federal government decided to alter his debt strategy to borrow more from the foreign market to reduce debt servicing costs. So that has led to a decline in primary market issuance and led to aggressive positioning in the fixed income markets by portfolio managers looking to avert reinvestment risk for their fixed income portfolio. Also, the CBN has, despite not cutting benchmark interest rates, they have succeeded in guiding market expectation for monetary policy towards a bias for easing. And that's why you will see that the clearing rates at the HOMO auctions being held by the CBN in the last 1 year, they have been cutting back on the HOMO clearing rates. And we are seeing the impact in the primary markets for T-bills and even the secondary markets as well, such that 12-month T-bills rate, which used to be at around 18.5%, is now down to about 14.2, 14.3%, nearly 13%, in fact, 13.2, 13.3%, nearly a 500 basis point drop from where it was a year ago. And despite the fact that we expect the CBN to maintain status quo at this policy meeting, we still think there is still ample room for there to be further decline in fixed income yields in the near term because of the strong disinflation we are seeing in the economy. Initially, the market was expecting probably inflation pressures to start building around February and March due to the seasonality factor, because when we entered the